Good morning. It was nice to see you, Marcia, and a few of you, and Jody in person. And look, we effectively have, I cherish hope, we have 3.5 weeks left in this year. Kind of crazy, right? If you throw in half the week today, this week for Thanksgiving break, you throw a week between Christmas and New Year's, that brings us down to 3.5 weeks. So I wouldn't be myself if I didn't say this before we get started is don't overeat, under exercise, and not work and wake up on January 1st and think those three miracles of I'm going to earn the most money, get in the best shape of my life, and be the healthiest I've ever been are going to come true. It's not happening. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. So look, we have 3.5 weeks. You know what to focus on. I don't know what happened to Michelle, but I hope you're okay. So as we focus, just remember your work expands and contracts to the time allotted. Expands and contracts. So the days that you're off, you're off. The days that you're on. Remember, we have momentum that we need to have into next year. And so I'll share with you guys a quick story. Before I start this, how many people have heard everywhere else besides here when we have these conversations that everything about buyer's agency is showing your value? Show your value, show your value, show your value, show your value, right? Jody, is that what you're hearing too? Thumbs up. All right, cool. Don't be one of these people that just don't raise your hand today. Normally I can count on you for yes, just messing with you. So there's a challenge, and I'll share a quick story with you. So when I went to the Compass retreat, I flew in Wednesday at 12 o'clock and I took a red eye out the next day. And I had to work. I had a full schedule on Friday. So like most people, I got off a plane. I didn't really sleep well because I was blessed with a crying baby this way, a crying baby that way. And so now I'm going to the Starbucks line at JFK at like 7:30 in the morning. You would have thought that A, there was a celebrity there, or B, they were giving out like illegal substances and we're all addicts. So I'm like waiting on this line. I'm like half asleep, like a zombie. And a woman taps me on the shoulder and says, "Excuse me, sir, your backpack's open, your wallet's hanging out." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." I was like, "I'm so tired." And we're watching people like cut to the front of the line, argue with the baristas, like they have any control over 75, 80 people all waiting for hot drinks and stuff like that. And I started talking to her and I was like, it's such bad emotional intelligence. Like if you look at these people's faces, they're just getting inundated with stuff. It's not like anyone was sitting around. It's not like anyone was on their phone. And I was like, they have only person syndrome. And she's like, you know what these people suffer from? I was like, I don't know. What is it? And she said this, and this will change my life and this should change your life too. She goes, they suffer from main character syndrome. I said, all of a sudden my brain just woke up. I said, what'd you say? She goes, main character syndrome. They think they're the main character of everything. And I was like, oh my God. So when you hear, right, Shawanda, the light bulb just went off. So when you hear all of this training going on right now saying, show your value, there was an article at Inman. So you know what? Hold on. I'm going to reference this for you. There's an article on Inman that actually talked about this, and this is what they're saying. 9 ways to get a buyer's agreement signed, right? Number one, not one size fits all. Great. Introduce the agreement and the related documents, transparency and accountability. Tell them how an independent contractor works, cancellations. Demonstrate your value 175 ways. A few questions. When it comes to home inspections, do you know what home inspections would be suggested or required and the cost involved? Have you budgeted appropriately? How would they make sense of those inspections as far as what issues in major versus minors or some deal breakers that could affect the value? Do buyers have a good grasp of costs? This is literally what they're telling you to tell people, right? Representation matters. How do you know the negotiation that's transpiring is really in your best interest and your interest being protected? What can you push back on? What can and should you be asking for or not? What terms are considered reasonable? What is a 3,500,000 square foot view of above? Does any of this sound like main character syndrome? The last time I checked, the person coming to you is the main character based on their goals, their expectations, and wanting to go through this terrible process called moving to get somewhere else. Does that make sense? Our jobs in the transaction is to be the director. The director makes sure that all the characters have what they want, that everything's organized, that it goes along to plot. And if we all can shift our mind into being directors instead of main characters, everyone will win. All of this stuff, essentially, I have not seen one good article from another perspective about this yet. Not one. Maybe because I'm psychotic, and as somebody said to me the other day, that I need a better hobby besides reading court transcripts and looking at what everyone's saying about this. Brad told me when we met, he's like, sometimes you're ahead, too far ahead. He goes, you've been talking about this buyer's agents thing for a year and a half. So think about this. And we've done this. I'm going to do it in a little bit different context. Who has very high standards for traveling and travels? Jody, I think we called on you last time, so I'm going to do Brad this time. Brad, what is a hotel that you stayed at more than once?
Hotel that I've stayed at. Go ahead.
That was very upscale, luxury.
St. Regis.
Got it. And what do you like about St. Regis?
You know, that's a good question. I haven't really even thought about it. They just put together a full package, a good experience. Feel like I get what I paid for, and well taken care of.
Well, how do you define well taken care of?
Anticipated needs are all met, and they just kind of leave me alone. I really just feel like they take care of all of my needs. That's just basically it.
They know what you want before you want it, because they're used to providing experience. You ever have to follow up with them about requests or things they said they would do for you?
No, I think I've said this on this call before about the moment when criticism is like they're almost too good.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I have to tell them when to stop. Like I'm good. I've been taken care of. So, they err on the side of being too good.
Well, if every one of your clients said, Brad, you're doing too good of a job, thank you for over servicing me, but I'm okay. Is that a good? How many people really get that from their clients now? Right. So if you think about it, how much does that hotel cost? $500, $600, $700, $800?
Yeah, it depends on where I'm staying, but could range from $700 to $1,200 a night.
Great. $1,200 a night times 7 nights is $8,400. Now think about this. An agent could get paid $30,000, $8,400. Is there a gap in service? Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I mean, within the St. Regis ecosystem, no.
No. Meaning, like, if you look at a real estate agent, right? Can all of us wholeheartedly look in a mirror and say our transaction is so buttoned up, it's like a St. Regis, it's like a Four Seasons, it's like a Ritz-Carlton, where our needs are anticipated. People, think about this. Imagine you walked into a car, right? Like, imagine you go through the consultation. They go through the whole process. You might see them. They know exactly what you want. You share everything you have through their goals, their expectations, and what they want. Now, from there, they get a recap email with everything they talked about and what are the next steps. Then when you schedule a showing, it says, good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Coy. I just want to confirm our appointment for Saturday, November 29th at 3 p.m. We're scheduled to see a total of 4 homes. The first property below is a list of the properties as well as the amount of time we've allotted for each. Now, if there's any property that strikes out to you that you'd like to spend additional time, please let me know. I'll adjust accordingly. Below are the addresses and the times that will be there. We'll start at this location. And at the bottom, it says, P.S. We've attached digital show sheets So you have a chance to review the information and don't feel a need to print them out. We'll have iPads where you can take the notes directly while we're at the properties. Now during your consultation, if they have kids or whatever, you understand if they want water, Gatorade, coffee, what are their favorite snacks and everything. You show up in the car, you give them the stuff they want. You have extra large iPads with internet where they can go into collections. You can say, hey, look, we want to organize this for you, and it's going to be a lot to go back to. So just write what you liked, what you didn't like, what you love the most, what would be the deal breakers, any additional questions you wanted about the home, and then we'll organize it all at the end. And if they have kids, would you prefer us that we bring extra iPads for your children so they have something to do while we look through the houses? Then after that, you get an email with the recap, a Google Doc that organizes all their notes, the list of questions that they asked in connection with which property, a stipulated time that you'll return all their information by. And from there, you send them the email. They get all the information, everything else. When it comes to writing an offer, it's not like, hey, we got to discuss making an offer. Hey, Brad, you're about to make the largest potential financial purchase in your life. Would you prefer to meet over Zoom or in person to go over it? And now you go through a professional explanation of sharing the market, positioning, and already, mind you, you've done this once, you're not doing it again, and you make your offer. Once the offer goes into contract, you say, hey, now you're about to go through the biggest transition of your life. Would you like to meet over Zoom? Would you like to meet in person? And then you go through an entire buttoned up process where you explain it to them. You have a timeline built out of everything that needs to do. It's translated into a Google Calendar. And now each week you follow up with them, you hold them accountable, you send them recommendations where they need. Any decision, they have hard dates that they have to meet. Now, if you're doing that and you're anticipating every single one of their needs, remember, I always say, create the conversation you want other people to have about you. How amazing would it be? It's like, I spoke with Brad and literally the only thing, it was like picking out clothes. I just got to go store to store, pick the exact one out, every detail he had mapped out in advance. He sent me recommendations. He followed up with me. He made sure all the important things took the thought and consideration to explain in advance. Now, does that feel like a St. Regis approach?
Beautiful. Sign me up.
Well, that's what you're all going to do. So thank you, Brad. So 2024, in my opinion, is going to be defined by one thing. Do you know what that is? Anybody?
Buyer representation.
Buyer representation. Okay. What else? Anybody else?
Differentiation.
Differentiation, buyer representation.
Agent value.
Agent value. One more person.
Getting organized.
Getting organized. I need a woman as well. Come on, ladies, represent. Kristen Clark, what do you think it is? Oh, you got to unmute yourself. There you go.
I would say systems and like get my pitch for buyers and sellers dialed down, like totally dialed down. So I've got it backwards, forwards, inside out.
You in a roundabout way nailed the answer. So if you think about it, I call this, thank you. I call this the year of transaction mastery. Now, I'm going to go through this. Put in the chat whether you do more buyers or more sellers. Chelsea, it was nice to meet you as well. Sellers equal 50-50, buyers. All right, since we talked so much about buyers, I'm going to represent for all my sellers agents out here. So there's two parts to this, right? The first part is prepare, pitch, and the next part's execute. Now, my viewpoint on learning next year should be around one word, one sentence, foundational mastery. So if I'm looking at this, if I had to go into real estate all over again, this is the first thing I would do. I would spend 3 months mastering, if I'm doing sellers, the prepare and the pitch. That means I'm mastering my Med C, putting the information in my CRM, putting the right tags, sending them the right email that reviews the tech with the Compass Tech video, and then going on the appointment and nailing my pitch. Look, Kobe Bryant is arguably the greatest basketball player that's ever lived. And he was in a summer camp that he was doing, and a reporter asked him, can I watch you practice? So the guy tried to get there earlier than Kobe. He was there and he watched him for 2 hours. And for the 2 hours that he was watching him, he was kind of like dumbfounded because Kobe Bryant was doing high school drills, like things that high school kids do. And he was expecting something else. So then they do the practice that day. He says, hey, Kobe, let me ask you a question. He says, you're the greatest basketball player in the world. Why are you doing such basic high school drills that high school kids do? Do you know what his answer was? He goes, why do you think I'm the greatest player in the world? Because he mastered the basics. That's why. So if you have to go back all the way into your career, it's 3 stages, right? The beginning, and this is what next year is all about, transaction mastery. Prepare, pitch, execute. That's the first phase. When you've mastered that skill, which is a skill, the next phase is delegation. How do you delegate parts of this to create a better experience for your client? Then the next part is scalability. How do we scale this through other people? The majority of people, 99.9% of agents are on level 1. Because if your entire thing isn't dialed in like a Ritz-Carlton, that's a repeatable process, like a franchise that somebody else could buy, you all have room for improvement. We all do. You know, I've been calling every person that signed up for this program just to get an idea of what their experience is. And one woman said to me today, you don't know my personality, but if you don't want to hear the blunt truth, you shouldn't talk to me. And I said to her, I go, nobody's exempt from feedback and self-improvement. So that's exactly why I called you. It was a great conversation. Right? We all have to improve in this because no one else is too. You want to talk about competitive advantages. If you took 3 months and mastered the prepare and the pitch and the execute. Now think about execute for a seller. Think about the way that you organize photo, video, decluttering, staging, sharing your marketing materials, your go-to-market strategy, right? Go-to-market strategy sounds a lot better than, hey, I got a coming soon and private exclusive. Hey, can I share with you our go-to-market strategy? And they're like, ooh, what's a go-to-market strategy? Especially if they're the corporate background, they're going to love those buzzwords. Then launching the property, organizing the feedback, the weekly communication calls. By the way, again, when it goes into contract, saying, hey, you're selling your largest financial asset. We have an offer. You know, however the people want to review it in person or on Zoom, you do it. Hey, how would you like to get together to walk through the timeline of what's next? You still have to support them through all of this. You know, people think when somebody hires you, great, I got the deal. You didn't get anything. The real sales starts after somebody hires you. So if I were all of you, I'd be spending the first 3 months mastering this one skill, the next 3 months mastering the next one. And if you're sitting there saying to yourself, I don't think I really need to do this, you're going to lose money. I have not been wrong about any of these trends yet, and I'm definitely not wrong about this. Now, remember this. If everyone was going to choose the top agents, the 90% of people wouldn't have businesses, correct? So when a top agent doesn't learn this, and if you're a top agent on here, you should learn this, and another agent comes that has this buttoned up concierge style process, they're going to say, I know this person sells more houses in the neighborhood, but you know what? This service just feels that it's a lot more for me because you're tailoring your whole pitch and everything you do to what a person wants, right? Trust is a feeling created through interactions and engagements. And the last time I checked, everyone's like, oh, I want my clients to know, like, and trust me. Well, how do you think that happens? It's the words you say based on what another person wants. Raise your hand if this is making sense to you. Jody, you're still not raising your hand? You're like in the center of my screen, so I'm just picking on you today. You're my buddy, so it's all good. So here's the thing. Are we all clear on what we have to do with sellers? Is anyone unclear? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Bless you. I see everything on here. Don't be fooled. All right, now let's go to buyers. Now, buyers is the pitch and the execute. Does anyone even really know how to give a buyer consultation to get somebody else to pay them and explain it in the terms of a luxury service? Raise your hand. And hit yes if you're not raising your hand besides John Jenkins. Okay. So you need to know how to pre-qualify somebody, you know, how to med-see them, the magic question to ask, understanding their financial motivations, whether their school of thought is around monthly payment or cost, walking them through the process, sharing the Compass advantage, like how does $1 billion technology platform benefit a consumer, walking them through the offer process, the home buying process, and at the end of it, naturally saying the investment for my services will be blank and explaining your compensation and the different ways you can get paid. Can we all do that with fluidity like we're speaking English? Probably not, because we've never had to do it. And then the next part is execute, like the stuff I talked about with Brad. Look, success for me, for all of you, looks like people referring you effortlessly and easily and saying, literally, when I worked with Cherish Hope, she literally brought me hope. Like everything that I was so worried about was catered to, right? Remember curated luxury, anticipating your client's needs and organically happening before they ever have to ask. If you don't have a repeatable, predictable process, then these other challenges are going to just keep happening. Remember, there are two things. You can have reasons or results, and reasons don't put checks in your bank account. Hundreds of reasons is why you can't do things. Look, this is going to be 25% of commissions are made up of part-time agents. Do you think a part-time agent is going to be able to justify this? Or even going to want to take the time to do this? Nope. So a lot of that money is going to retrade. And the other thing in consumer behavior is this. Marsha could be my sister-in-law, and she could sell real estate, but she's part-time. She has a full-time job. I just know that she does it occasionally. If I have to write a check for $1, I'm not going to consider Marsha. It's one thing when you're getting it for free, which is a whole debatable topic. But if you have to write an agent a check for $10,000, you're going to say, I'm going to preserve you as my sister-in-law, because if you do a bad job and I have to pay you 10 grand, imagine paying a family member $10, $15, $20,000 for a subpar job and still having a good Thanksgiving or holiday with them. You can be resentful. These are the things that we want you to start thinking about now. Now, if you're 50-50, go back through your last 12 months of transactions and see where the higher percentage lies and go to that side first. And if you feel you have your pitch down nailed, which I think even in working with some of the top 1% of agents in the country, they oftenly do, they don't even have this thing nailed. They just have something that works well. But if I went in there and I started asking them all these questions, what happens when real estate agents get nervous? They just talk and talk and talk and talk. This is your opportunity. What John say? It's not hard people to get a buyer agreement signed even at 30%. No, every person has a right to know what they are getting in exchange for the compensation they pay. Imagine this, and for all of us that are, for the handful of you or a lot of you who've already signed up for next year, think about this. Imagine being able to go to a buyer to start off the process and say, hey, have you ever wondered exactly what an agent does in exchange for the compensation you receive? Do you think that's not a question that every consumer in America wants to know? By the way, it's their own fault that they don't know. It's a communication platform. What's the platform we communicate this on? Hand them the list. But we're going to make it a client-facing list, so it doesn't sound like, prepare CMA. Like that's not, like, they won't even understand what that means. When you go to a doctor and they give you the bill of all the random things they did, and you're like, oh, wow, okay, I guess this makes more sense for the line item. And you're going to be able to hand them the thing and use the Chirag Shah. Well, you're probably thinking that this is a lot. What you're probably feeling too is that you're overwhelmed. And what you really want to know is, how is this customized to my goals and expectations? And that's the purpose of our meeting. So can I ask you a few very important questions so we could focus our time together solely on the things that are important to you? And they're going to say, yeah, of course. So Jody, what motivated you to make a move at this point? What are you most excited about? Then I'm going to go through that process and I'm going to say, what do you envision an agent doing for you that you feel you can't do yourself? And at the end of all of that, I'm going to know exactly how to tailor my pitch. It works like magic. And we've had clients that have been using this approach for over a year now. So we have all of their feedback as well. So let me walk you through something as I'm reaching out to people individually, as well as we keep getting questions of what is the coaching program, or the time's going to change, and all the things, because this is part of your routine. The essential difference between this year and last year is you're getting everything. What is everything mean? Because that's everything is not clear, concise, and quantifiable, right? So I can't be a hypocrite. We essentially have 4 things that we offer people. It's this live coaching, to the end-to-end buyers, which is everything from your sellers, which is your listing presentation, the listing presentation script guide, the objection handling guide, I like to call clarifying questions, but then no one knows what it is. Then the other, hold on one second. Sorry, that's Robert's chief of staff, and I have my AirPods in. 1 second. So we want to make sure that you have the right materials, that you have the right words to say, you know how to answer the clarifying questions, which is the first part we talked about. And the second part we talked about is all the service. We've written every email template. We have every specific use of technology, and we have the whole entire thing mapped out for you. We did it for sellers. We did it for buyers. I think our buyers presentation and conversation guide, I would say, is the best training I've ever made in my life. And it's really nice when you have 18 months of doing something to help people be prepared. Then the 4th thing we offer is our platform. Who here, and I'll raise my hand first, has ever been confused on how to find something on our platform? I am. Cool. We're redoing our entire platform. Like the whole thing is going to look different to have it make more sense. But we also realized the number one challenging in group programming was each individual. You all have a different set of goals, right? Everyone has a different set of learning styles, different past experiences and coaches in their business, and ultimately a different part of their business they want to focus on. So everyone next year is getting what they call a program navigator. Now, what is a program navigator? Each one of you, if you choose to, and I hope you do, go through an assessment. Based on the assessment and the goals and the areas you want to work on, we will suggest the best live workshops with me, the best resources on our platform, as well as the right accountability groups, role play groups based on people that are doing the same thing with the same type of experience. And the best part, my favorite feature, is when you want to find something on the platform, you can just message the navigator. Where do I find a listing presentation? Do you have an email template on this? And there'll be a live human that's located here in the tri-state area that has experience working with Compass agents and knows the platform and the technology that will be responding to you. So you have 2 schools of thought. You can all make this on your own, or we can just give it to you for you. It's all done for you. But either way, you have to do something. Do not go into next year thinking that you have this all figured out. I'm telling you this, that I work with teams that make hundreds of millions of dollars, and I know their systems, structures, processes. Some of them have 10 employees, and they don't have this figured out. And if you look at the training and at the speed which it's coming out, there was a study at Inman that said they felt that in the agents that they surveyed, only 26% of their brokers were following the trial daily, and the rest is occasionally. Meaning everyone else sat on their ass waiting for something to happen, is now figuring out what to do. This is your opportunity to be ahead. You can just get into next year and learn what you have to learn, whether you do it on your own or somebody just gives it to you. The greatest investment you make is in yourself, and the second greatest investment is the time that you put into you for yourself. Master this. You know, in the call I had this morning, I was telling the woman that I spoke with, I go, the biggest misconception in coaching is people track ROI by attendance. Where if you're signing an annual program, if you could build 4 solid foundations that you can continue to build on, and look at your business more as a career than a job, that you're just doing things day in and day out, we realized that that's part of the challenge. I also realized I can't teach you how to pitch something in 30 minutes. So next year we will have longer sessions, right? If I have to teach you client experience, it's an hour. If I have to teach you how to do a buyer presentation, it's an hour. And so I will be teaching those classes live, as that's going to be a big focus of ours in the first 6 weeks of next year to get everyone set up. So I had an opportunity where we ended a few minutes early just to share with you what our thinking is around this. It's much easier doing this than through sending emails, which sometimes don't make sense. And there's obviously a tonality thing. So, look, focus forward. The world is filled with opportunities. Don't have reasons, have results. Believe in yourself. And know that everything you've ever hoped or wanted, the world has created this opportunity of transactional mastery where it's your time. I'm telling you this, I speak with 3 layers of people, all of you, all of the sales managers I know, and all my relationships at Compass Corporate. Nobody has this figured out. You guys are months ahead of everybody else, months. Gretchen Coley and I did the MedC for about 5,000 people on like a roll, like, you know, one of those Compass presentations. And literally their inbox blew up with people like, what's that? How do you do it? They would have thought it was like the invention of like the things that came out in the Industrial Revolution. And you guys all, I believe, have been practicing this for months. So stay ahead, focus forward with the love of my heart. I love you all. Just know that if you sign up for the program, I'm going to be like in this one. At some point, I'm going to speak to you. So please answer my email. I would love your feedback. I love my heart. Again, I love you all. Happy Monday. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.